With a Kaibo juice gang ready to roll. Grab your paddles, let the good times flow. From the great white north to the wild unknown, we take the best canoe trips, make memories we own. Under the stars by the campfire light, we sing our songs and we laugh all night. With our trusty canoes, we explore the land. Every river, every lake, with the Kaibo juice gang. So grab a paddle and join us on the ride, singing songs side by side. Navigate the waters, laugh and cheer. In the great outdoors, the Kaibo juice gang is here.
Hi, welcome to Kaibo Juice, where we talk shit about all things backcountry. Joining me in the studio today again are Adam and Ron, my two favorite canoe trippers that join me on all my trips. We've been very neglectful over the last couple of months. We swore we would do a lot more of these, but life got in the way. However, the season is now upon us, and we're going to have a lot to talk about. You guys have no idea what I'm actually going to, what the topics are today. The first thing I think that is great because everybody is doing this now is talking about our provincial park backcountry reservation system. As we know, there are serious flaws with the system. We know the loopholes. Many people don't know the loopholes. I'd like to see if maybe we can get the loopholes changed on this one a little bit. Adam, do you have any idea what we're talking about right now or no?
I know about that the regulations are there and there's things that are good. There are things in which people can game the system, but I don't know what exactly the specifics are. So I'm actually very interested in our topic today so that I can learn about our loopholes and how to game the system and the topics and possible best practices and tactics.
All right, so here's the deal. And Ron understands this fully. He knows more about all of this than I do. But when we book backcountry in a provincial park, let's say Algonquin, for instance, okay? You book it by the campsite. Not by the campsite, you book it by the lake according to the nights that you want to be on that lake.
Let me just clarify that. In Algonquin, you book by the lake.
Right.
In places like Bon Echo, Massasauga,
French River now.
you actually book by the actual campsite.
I totally disagree with that in many instances. I can get it if you're going to one place and staying there for 4 days. But like French River just came out with this and explain to me, we all know that we've gone down the old Voyageur channel and we've ended up on the fingerboards in Georgian Bay, the fingerboards, right? I think that's what they're called. And there's times where you have to sit on that campsite for 2 days because Georgian Bay becomes like a rough ocean with the winds whipping across it where we couldn't travel. So are you trying to tell me that you actually have to go and try to get to the site that you have been assigned when you might not be able to get to it?
So I've had that happen to myself. Actually, where was it? Oh, gee, it was actually in anyways, doesn't matter. Um, the weather was bad. It was piss pouring rain. Interestingly, there was cell service, and I phoned up the park, and they said it's not raining here, and it wasn't. And I asked them, is someone reserving this place? And he said, yes, they are. And a matter of fact, they were just leaving. So at that point there, I knew that the weather would turn and we would have to go. But if that wasn't the case, I would not leave.
Right,
If
but
the
let's say
conditions
like French River, we went up the elbow. Remember we were racing people to the elbow. Was it called the elbow? I believe it was the elbow,
Yeah,
where it was like the cross, the intersection.
yeah,
And
just where the waterfalls are.
No, it's where we had the spot with the rattlesnake, the campsite with the
Just before we
rattlesnake.
left, just before we left the park back at the marina.
Right, for the last couple of
Oh,
nights.
okay,
There's
We
that
rushed
okay, okay.
there's
we
a
Yeah.
good
rushed
site
it
there.
because of the weather.
There's
We
a great
rushed it.
site there that we did not get because someone else beat us to it.
They
And
beat us to it.
but we a little bit of paddling around, we found a good site, not a great site, but a good site for a secondary.
What are you
So
talking
the
about? That was the greatest site we've seen on a provincial
Sorry,
park in
we
our
actually kept on.
life.
This is the one where we stopped at one site. We didn't like it. We kept on going a little bit towards the finish line.
Right. And we found the
And
site with the moose carcass and
the
the
moose and
rattlesnakes
the
were around. That was an
rattlesnake and the
amazing site.
blueberries and yeah.
Right,
okay,
but
okay,
my point
okay,
is,
let's just okay, but the thing is, this is why they're making it this way that you book by the actual site. Because when I go with my wife, the one thing she hates the most is the uncertainty of not knowing where we're going to be going that night. So by knowing exactly where you're going, you can make it to that spot.
right, but look
Again,
at how many
if the condition,
campsites we've, hold on,
okay,
look how many campsites we found based on discovery. Like, how many times have you gone to a lake and you've looked at one site and you're like, this is crap, and you've moved on and you found an amazing site? Like, how are you supposed to know what the good sites are if you're booking it by the site? That makes no sense to me.
okay,
The
on the
exploration's
sites,
gone.
just a minute. On when you go into the reservation system, they will have a minimum of one picture, if not two or three, of each site.
Right.
It's
Here's
just a
the lake and
photograph.
here's the buggy swamp right
Yeah.
behind
Okay.
you with every
So
mosquito in the park.
again, there's a difference between even with when we're talking backcountry canoeing. This is not when we go to Temagami or when we go to Crown Land, that's backcountry and you can just do what you want.
Right,
Where
but
when people
parks.
are going to provincial parks, even though it's a backcountry within a provincial park, I don't think most people are adventurous. They want to go for a weekend. They want to know where they're going. They want to know where they're going to be going to.
Right, but you can't tell me
So
that somebody that's going up Opiongo and is going to take the portage like into the Crow River is going for a weekend and like is going to book the exact site that they don't know what they've never seen before based on a picture.
yeah,
Like,
but then what you're saying, but in Algonquin, you book by the lake,
right,
not by the site. So
right.
the
Which brings
larger,
us to the topic of it is cheaper. Okay, so with every campsite, you get one parking spot. So here's where the game is flawed. Or don't hate the player, hate the game. We have six guys going. We have three cars, a canoe on each car. Three canoes, six guys, three cars. It is cheaper for us to each book our own site on a lake than it is to add two more cars to an existing campsite.
yeah, but that's only true with Algonquin and a number of other parks. At
Like,
Massasauga Provincial Park, you actually now reserve by the campsite. It's $45 a night as opposed to what, $15 per person. So then it's actually they figured out how to get away from it because they at Massasauga people were doing that. So they said no, $45 a site. So now if you have three people going, it's more expensive, and that's why but they also added parking spots because prior to this, she had to go 5 kilometers to the marina and do a shuttle with someone else because there was no room for parking at the place.
right. But okay, so let's focus on Algonquin. Let's say we want to go to pick one. Let's go Smoke Lake into Ragged. Love Ragged Lake. We get to the launch on Smoke Lake. It is cheaper for us to get three campsites on Ragged Lake and have free vehicles than it is to add two campsites. And then when we get to Ragged Lake, we now have three campsites to choose from. We know two will be empty. So it gives us much more variety. And this is where the game is flawed. They need to find a way to add people and cars without breaking the bank to one campsite. Otherwise, we're just going to keep booking 3 campsites for 6 guys, have 3 sites to choose from, and we each get a car free when we book it. It's no difference in price whatsoever. So,
And you're right. And I do not know of a way to solve it other than what they did at Massasauga by charging more per site. So you can have, so now it's no longer economically worthwhile to have, it's cheaper to pay the extra parking fee as opposed to the extra site.
right. So yeah, total flaw gray area within the reservation system for provincial parks that don't have the book your own site but book the lake. Um, Personally, I like the way it's going, but I'd like to see it actually, how many times have we gone on an October trip and it shows it's booked and we're like, there's like 2 people on the lake. There's got,
Yeah, that's actually quite common. And I don't know if that's because people don't show up. That would be my guess because I've gone to when we've been to Algonquin at like Galerie and it was full, and you go paddling in and there's 5 people and the place holds 20.
right,
There's no way people are making multiple reservations so they can get it.
right.
So I'm thinking it was raining and cold, so they decided not to go. But I'm not sure. That's
Maybe.
just
And what, they
speculation.
canceled at the last minute, took their $10 back, and that's what is it,
Well,
$10 to cancel?
I think, don't quote me on that, that if you cancel like 2 weeks in advance, 1 week in advance, the day before is different rates. So you might lose, I think, most of it or half of it. But again, we're talking $20. And in the general scheme of things, you know, I know with when I go with my wife, we'll book 5 or 6 weekends, and if we can't make one, I'll cancel on the last day, make sure someone else can use it, and just eat the $20. It's a lot, you know, it's a lot better to have the option of going than not being able to go because it was sold out.
Well, I just did the same thing for September, where I basically just booked a quick weekend, knowing fully well that I can always add people to the reservation. At least I have one. But what was I going to tell you? So, have you ever found that when you want to go away quickly, that there's a lot of spots that have opened up on a lake that has been pre-booked months before at the last
But
moment?
on the day before, yes, I have occasionally it was sold out and then it was available.
Right,
Doesn't happen that often, but that's just because I don't, I'm not scouring it, and I'll if I can't make it to the one site or the one park, I'll just go to a different park and, try to do it in advance.
right. I'm wondering how many lakes that say that they're like empty, like they're full, or there's always going to be sites on them, no matter
Yeah, but
what,
they
just based
can't.
on this,
I, I remember I talked
this
to
thing.
one of the wardens one year, and I said, "This is when you just book by the lake. If the lake has 5 or 6 sites, do you book all of them?" And the answer to that was no. They never book, you
They
know,
always leave one or two
they
empty.
always leave, depending on, so if there's 5, they'll leave one. If there's 10, they'll leave two. Just because if
Someone
just,
doesn't move or whatever, people get there and there's nowhere to stay that night.
or even if the other spot, if they're getting there late and someone has to go literally search every single spot to get to a site, it's not safe.
Right.
So they'll leave a couple empty, so at least they know someone will be able to find at least one of the sites.
Yeah, nothing was more fun last year than having being on the Spanish River in the loop and all the campsites that were on our map were no longer there.
Oh,
It
that was
was all
disco tasting. That was, yeah. So
That's why we need to that's why you need hammocks. I truly believe that. With hammocks, you could go anywhere as long as you could bring the canoe onto the shoreline, right?
we
So
survived.
No, but I'm saying it
Wait a
makes a
minute. Adam
lot of
had the
sense.
best sleep of the trip when we were on the
Oh
Blueberry
yeah, it was
Pass.
amazing. I slept in the hammock that night because there was no place to put the tent. But my point is
So
that if
comfortable.
you have a hammock, you don't need a campsite. It does. You don't need a fixed campsite. You get to this lake and there's no campsites. Just everyone strings up like in the forest. What does it matter along the shoreline? So yeah, it's an advantage. All right. The other thing, Adam, you have any thoughts on this topic or no?
Not nothing that I could add that would be any value other than sometimes it's fun to tap our internal voyageur and cowboy camp under the stars or just under a tarp if we have to. We've thought about it, we've talked about it. Thank goodness we've never had to do it. We've always found something, but
Well, but we
it was
haven't found something that was a campsite every time. We've made campsites in the bush. We've
but if
done
we have to
that.
turn over canoes or just set up a quick tarp and just get in a sleeping bag without a tent, like we're all prepared for it, but we thankfully haven't had to do that just yet.
Okay, but if you were, would you prefer to book the lake or would you actually prefer to book a campsite not knowing where you're going on a trip?
I'm good with option number two. I don't mind.
Really?
I don't mind not knowing. I don't mind the volatility of the stock market, and I don't mind the volatility of the campsites.
Okay,
Uh,
but there's like, let's say there's six guys and you find out that the campsite you booked will only hold like, do they give you numbers?
Yeah, they do. They actually have small, medium, large, like one tent, two tents, or three tents. Again, in provincial parks, you can only have a maximum of
Nine.
9 people
Right,
and three tents.
right.
Ronnie,
So
yeah, sometimes the fun is the adventure and is not knowing exactly what's going to
That's
be.
my
Or,
that's my that's what I think. That's
you know,
totally what I believe. I think that it almost takes away from the fun of it. It's like we're going there. It's like we booked the Holiday Inn on Ragged Lake. Like I want to see the different sites. I want to go to different places, right? If you know one site's good, everybody's going to go running for that one site every single time, as opposed to somebody's already on it. That's too bad. Let's move on and find something else. I found some amazing sites because sites I wanted to go back to were taken and then I ended up somewhere else and it turns out that I was making a mistake going to the first one, right? So,
Ronnie, I'll also just say that my greatest memories, the most fun we ever have, and the most stories we talk about is when we've encountered adversity and we've overcome it.
right,
And it could be either finding a campsite, not catching fish. And you saw I posted that little video of a guy standing up in a tiny little dory in the middle of the ocean with huge waves. And
right,
I had to put a comment under there saying, "Hey guys, this is Ronnie um, catching his crew's dinner when everybody gave up due to weather and lake conditions."
yeah.
And that was based on a true story. That was actually based
That's every
when we were
trip.
on Blind River. We all gave up. We said, "Screw it, we'll eat craft dinner." And Ronnie said, "Fuck that." Excuse me. So Ronnie said, "Hell
That's
with
okay.
that. I'm going to be catching fish for my guys." And he did. He came back with two pikes, and everybody had a little bit of protein in their dinner that night.
Right.
And that story carries with us because we found an adversity. Not all of us, but Ronnie found a way to overcome it, and now that's one of our burned in stories.
But okay, so let's say we know that the fishing hole is on the south of the lake and you want to go to that lake and now like all the campsites are booked, so you got to go to the north, right? Like this is exactly what I'm talking about. I want to when people don't know and you do know, you have an advantage, right? So, what I think is that all the prime spots are going to be taken doing it this way and everyone's going to end up with the dregs that didn't book fast enough. As opposed to there's spots open on the lake, but you don't know which one.
yeah, but then
Right.
you're saying, oh, because I can take off
On
you know,
Thursday,
Thursday,
right,
I can then get to that premium spot because you have to actually work on Friday.
right,
So it works both ways. If you're working and you have to leave Friday night and get up there and then get to the site, again, is it fair to them that because they have to work, they can't make it to the premium site because
right. Yeah.
again,
Yeah, Ron, I kind of say, you snooze, you lose, first come, first serve. I can buy into that a little bit.
I don't think it's fair.
Uh,
well, remember the time that you were going up with your wife and her work colleagues, and I was up there at the same time, and I actually I stayed at the campsite so no one else could take it, so you could get it. Was that fair?
Well,
Or
it's like the Marines: overcome and improvise.
All
We have
right.
Marines mentality, the Marines motto.
Oh,
yeah.
my point. There's flaws in this system. They need to be fixed. I'm sure they'll figure it out. But in the meantime, I'm booking 3 sites on one lake with 6 guys because the rules allow me to. As I said, don't hate the player, hate the game. If we get free cars that way and it's cheaper in the long run, why wouldn't I take the cheaper option, right? And have more variety to choose from. All right. Wrapping that up, the number one topic that you see at this, it's now May 25th. The number one topic that you see on boards, on Facebook groups, right, Adam's already slapping his face, is how are the bugs? Maybe the stupidest question that you could have in May if you're living in Ontario and you want to go north. All right. Like, when not only are the black flies out in droves right now, you've also got the mosquitoes. And the funny thing is that everyone has like their own solutions. And Ron and I both agree that the number one solution, if you don't like the bugs, is one, don't go outside. And two, is just deal with it. So going with that, we both became immune. And we're going to talk about some bug spray remedies, this and that, what we like, what we don't like. Um, I was out last weekend in Muskoka. There was 1 hour where I had to wear a bug net. My wife came out and she took a picture going, if Ronnie's wearing a bug net, you know the bugs are bad. But um, I again, the number one thing that we do, we don't believe in any. Let's talk about some of the ointments, the sprays, the. Go on. Who wants to lead this one?
Okay, so if you like natural remedies, if you don't like mosquito repellent, there's something called an essential oil called silverome, and I lather that on myself. Actually, I don't. My wife lathers it on herself, and the bugs just don't land on her. But you got to put a lot on. But it's just it's fine.
And then you go to bed all oily and disgusting in your sleeping bag. I can't do that. Do you ever notice on the
Anyways,
August trip I bathe before dinner every single time? But
again, you're it's on your arms and your face. You wash your arms and your face. You're wearing long pants. It's not like on your skin or something like that there.
right. So we
So
always use carbolic soap.
the carbolic soap is good for that.
I know the carbolic soap works, and I've proven it time and time again. The thing that people don't understand is that you have to bathe. You got to start bathing with it at least a week before the trip so that your skin gets like, I guess, used to it, the smell of it. I don't know. But I've literally come out of the shower on at fishing lodges at this time of year where everyone is getting eaten alive, and I just bathe with carbolic soap. I'm standing there in a towel, and they're not coming near me.
Okay,
So, Adam, you've tried those tabs. What was your report on those tabs? Those little yellow
So,
citronella
so,
tabs.
so like part of the fun of the canoe trip is that we do like a good week and a half of tripping, but the rest of the year is planning for the previous year's trip and finding all the new tech and the new gadgets and gizmos to take with us. And my wife found these little yellow stickers that claim if you stick them all on your clothes, they repel the mosquitoes. They have some, I guess it's citronella in it. The mosquitoes laugh at them. They look at me and they go, "Really, Adam?" And they start biting you to hell. But I think there's even a more important thing that I think needs to be said because Ronnie, we have listeners all across the world, and most people are very familiar with mosquitoes and mosquito bites and how they feel and how to treat them. But very few people know about the scourge of black flies that are prevalent in the northern provinces and in northern states. And I was also up at in Muskoka during the past 3 weeks, and I did happen to get a couple of black fly bites. You don't feel them when they do; they look like little tiny little flies. They bite, and then like 2 days later, you have a quarter size welt where the bite is with a little
Right.
hole in the middle, and it doesn't go away, and it itches for. And I still have them. For 3 weeks, this damn thing has been itching and killing me here, and there's nothing to make it go away. And I get all the time, Adam, stop picking at your bites and every. The things are absolutely deadly. So we say this tongue in cheek, and we're trying to make a bit of fun with this. But the truth is that any way you can stop these damn things from biting you, you're going to make your trips more enjoyable. So I would encourage our listeners to listen up here to what we're telling you, whether it's a natural cause or DEET or any other chemical ways of preventing bites, especially by black flies. This will make your trips more enjoyable and make you want to go on more trips in the future.
People like thermocells. Have any of you tried one of those?
We have them. We even take them on the trip, Ronnie. Jury's out.
We've had a thermocell.
I actually just bought one last year, used it, and there was no bugs out really to test it with.
Jury's
So
like we really need to put it into a scientific case study to see if it actually works for us. But we've tried everything, folks. We've tried the coils.
Coils, you end up eating that stuff. I get nauseous with the coils. Like
my point is that we're willing to try anything. Like in the notes,
20 years we've tried everything.
Like we like I don't think there's a tactic that we haven't tried.
People swear by everything. The truth is that many people do not believe that you can actually build up an immunity. I was outside for 3 days this week. Black flies were all over me. I put on the head net just because I was tired of eating them. Once I ate two, it was enough for me. I put that. They're annoying, right? They're all over your
Ronnie,
face,
honestly,
bouncing. But I didn't get a single bite. And I was using the carbolic soap. But people do not believe that you can become immune to mosquitoes and black flies are always like if they're biting you, they're biting you, but we don't get the itch or the reaction. When I say you become immune to mosquitoes, it doesn't mean they stay away from you. They still bite us. Like how many times have we gone on portages where they're all over me and I'm like wiping them off my arm and my arm is bloody from all my blood, but that night after I bathe, I don't have any reaction, no itch,
the
anything.
anticoagulant just doesn't affect us anymore
Right,
because
we're
it's been taken
immune.
so many times.
Right, and the funny thing is that people don't believe it. You can Google it. It actually, and there was three of us on our trip. One is now passed away, but Ron and I are immune, and people don't believe me. And then I show them the picture of mine and Andrew's leg, which I'm going to superimpose right now.
Ronnie, I'm just going to
Hold
put on there. One of the greatest tactics of avoiding a lot of mosquito bites is to bring delicious children and delicious people that are delicious to mosquitoes.
Right, bring a dog.
And let
sit beside somebody who emits more carbon monoxide, right?
But when Ronnie shows these pictures of Andrew's legs, these are sexy legs, folks, but they just absolutely, the mosquitoes loved him.
No, it doesn't matter about the mosquitoes loving them. It's just showing that I have no reaction whatsoever. But the thing is people are like, well, I got bit a million times. First of all, it doesn't happen to everybody. The second thing is when people say, oh, I've been outside for years and blah, blah, blah. I don't think they truly understand how you actually become immune because I don't know about Ron's story. I'll let Ron tell his first. But with my story, I literally went through hell and back in order to become immune. It wasn't like it happened to me just like periodically. I literally got eaten alive in order to build that immunity. So Ron, you tell your story, I'll tell mine. Was there an actual specific point where you realized from that day forward you were immune?
Well, it wasn't, it was more like, so when I was a young man in university, I actually have my degree in geophysics. I worked up north in northern Ontario. This is north of Lake Superior for a mining company, Lac Minerals, in a place called Hemlo. And I was doing exploration, a soil sampler. I was working with the geology team, and so I was working in the bush for for the summer with millions of mosquitoes and black flies all around you. So you would literally tape up your arms, tape up your waist, tape up your socks, and at the end of the day, you would come back and say how many bites you got, and you would say, "Oh, I get 5 or 6." But of course, you're talking in dozens, of course. So every day, I'd get between 50 and 100 black fly bites, mosquito bites, deer fly bites, and over the course of a couple years, after like I think the third year I was there, I know there was this one guy there who after 2 days, nothing. The first couple days he would just swell out, and then after that, nothing. He was just fine. So it literally was just years, well, months, I guess 3 months for like 2 years of being bitten all the time. So realistically, unless you're out for a long time and have so many bites, it's hard to get the immunity. Um, that's how I became immune. But that said, one of the things that people told was get an injection of vitamin B12 because the mosquitoes will stick their stinger into you and say yuck and then pull it out so it doesn't leave the anticoagulant. You still get
I thought it was what they put into you to make the blood flow that you're
no,
allergic
they
to.
when they pull the stinger out, when they release the anticoagulant, so the blood inside of the mosquito doesn't go bad. That is the what they inject it into themselves, and then you get it too, and that's what you get the welt
I
from.
thought they actually injected something into you to make the blood flow so they can drink it, and that's what you're
That wasn't
allergic
my
to.
understanding. My understanding the is the anticoagulant that you're having the reaction to.
All right, I've always heard that it was what they,
We
yeah.
can check it up after.
We'll check it out after. If anyone has a
Yeah.
comment on it, I'd like to hear that. It doesn't really matter. Okay, mine, we're running out of time, so I'm going to tell my story. I remember it like it was yesterday. For years, I went to summer camp. I've been on canoe trips my entire life. I spent 36 days in the bush when I was 13 years old doing all of Killarney and Algonquin in a tripping camp. But there was one time when I was in my 20s where we were at the cottage. I think it was late June, and we had a whole stack of biodegradable clay bricks that were just piled up near the old outhouse. And I decided that because they're biodegradable and they're clay, that I was going to bury them. So I decided to dig a big pit in the woods right beside the stream, the swampy area, and I was going to dig a big pit. I'm talking like it was a pit 10 feet long by like 5 feet deep, just so that I could bear. And then there's tree roots and everything. I started working in the morning. I didn't finish until like almost dinner time. And I was in just a pair of boots and a pair of shorts, and I got eaten alive to the point where where you're like trying to shake them off you, they're all over your back. Like there was mosquitoes on me, bites upon bites, where I got to the point where I couldn't take it anymore. I just gave up. I just gave in. I was completely like I'm talking, I don't think there was a square inch of skin on me by the end of the day where I wasn't bitten, and I have been immune ever since. Ever since that day, I have never had an itch or reaction to mosquito bites. I don't remember now if I actually had like a massive reaction to it that night. I've heard people say that that could be dangerous to some people, but all I'm saying is that was the day that forever changed me. And now I don't get any reaction. I don't get any welts. I don't get any itch. I don't get anything when it comes to bug bites.
Ronnie,
These
that's
things
what
are a
happened.
different. Go on.
I was just gonna say that's what happened to Peter Parker and how he became Spider-Man.
Right. What's funny is we were on that trip a few years ago where I got stung by a hornet on my tongue when I ate the hot dog that had it. It was in the hot dog, and I warned everybody that
After you
there's
warned
bees everywhere.
everyone, that's
I
right.
warned everyone, don't eat the food. There's like hornets everywhere. Just make sure. And then I put the hot dog in my mouth, and the hornet was in my mouth, and it stung my tongue. I don't know if it's because of the immunity, but it really was not a horrible reaction for me. You think that has something to do with it too? That venom is venom? I've been stung in other places, and I could tell you I've been stung by every stinging insect in Ontario other than a paper wasp. I've had cicada killers, I've had all the different yellow jackets, all the different like hornets, wasps, bees, you name it. But depending on where you get hit, hurts way more than other places. But the last time that I can remember, The cicada killer was different. That was like getting stabbed in the arm with a hunting knife. But when I got stung on the tongue, I was expecting my whole face to blow up, my tongue to blow up. I rinsed Listerine. I had Listerine and I gargled with it and I kept my tongue kind of numb. But I was fine by dinner time. That was at lunch that I got stung. Do you think that maybe the immunity had something to do with that? That it leveled it down?
I don't think it didn't fully bite you. I remember
No, it
looking at
fully
your
stung me.
tongue.
I felt it.
The stinger went in, but it didn't lose the stinger inside of you. A lot of times they'll leave stinger.
I
They
don't
came
remember
flying
that.
out. It came
Yeah, I opened my
flying.
mouth and I just saw it go boom, like out of my mouth. But you just don't think I got the full dose of the venom that day?
Yeah,
I
I
did
think it
get
was just
stung and
small.
it was numb, but it was like I was expecting not to talk for 3 days.
Yeah,
But
I could have only wished.
but but mosquitoes, black flies, I have no reaction. Horse flies are going to take a chunk out of you. Do I have an itch afterwards? I don't think so. Ron,
No
do you find that
CMs,
with horse
stable
flies
flies.
too? You have no reaction? Ron?
The what?
With horse flies, you have no reaction?
I actually feel them landing on me, and I kill them before I get bit. I think I've been bit like once.
I get them
So
landing on my
I
feet.
don't have that bad.
I have them landing on my feet when I'm paddleboarding and they bite me and I slap them, but I don't have any itch or reaction afterwards. The one thing that there's no getting around are stable flies.
Right on
Oh,
the ankles.
The ankle biters that feel, I call them flying thumbtacks. And they always go for your ankles. You know what I'm talking about, Ron? Those ones we first saw them in
oh,
Chiniguchi, then we saw them in Tamagami, and now we're seeing them everywhere. Supposedly they even have them in the Toronto Islands. But you know the one I'm talking about? The ones that they look like a
they
common
look like
house fly.
house flies,
They look
but
like
they
house
bite.
flies and they bite
Yeah.
your ankles and stuff, and they feel like a little hot thumbtack inserting into your skin. Those there's no getting around those. I don't itch from those either, but like the bite, you're not getting over the bite. I don't think there's anything out there that will stop you from getting bitten. They might decrease the amount of bites, but the oils you're putting on and everything, maybe, but
You
I'm
know what,
I'm still a
Ronnie?
fan of bathing with the carbolic soap.
You know what? I think to end this topic, because I think I'm running out of juice on my phone, which is
No worries, we
the
only have
top.
3 minutes left anyway.
But here's the thing, guys, take with a few after bite pens, take with some Caladryl and some calamine lotion, and if it
Eh.
gets really bad,
After
just
bite's a good idea because it's small like a pen.
you
That's a
know
great idea.
take a soak in the lake, and just suck it up, and hopefully the next day will be better.
Right.
Really, don't let it get you down too badly.
It's part of the
I'll
experience.
disagree with you on the calamine lotion, and I would say bring salt. Oh,
Adam's
he's
gone. He
gone.
died.
Epsom salts, because Epsom salts, if you just it'll pull the toxins out.
How are you using Epsom salts on a trip?
Well, you have a small bag, you just wet it a bit, and you just rub it on your arm.
Oh, because
So
that's
it's
basically what the um, carbolic soap does. It's an
yeah, but
antiseptic.
Epsom salts will draw the toxins out, where calamine lotion soothes it, but it locks the toxins in.
You've done
So
that before with the Epsom salts? Like you've tested that?
on our son, not on myself. I
Yeah,
didn't,
but the sun could be like a placebo pill where he's like, "Oh yeah, it feels much better," and you rub peanut
we get
butter on
back.
him. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I think that was the time when we went canoeing with our kids, and they were just, you thought Jessica had chicken pox because she had so many bites on her.
Oh yeah, I've got a picture before we end this of Jessica when we went to a camp family weekend in June where the black flies and the mosquitoes were so bad the poor kid got eaten alive. She didn't stop her. It didn't stop her at all. All right, that's it. We're going to try to do way more of these this year. Let us know if you have anything that you actually want us to talk about. That's it. Subscribe and follow. Until next time.